Is it possible for us to give them the calling number? Yeah.
Yeah. You go on your phone when it's live. You put the number in the comments, like so it will appear rolling as a comment.
Yeah.
Could contact us on Skype. The agents of the
Okay.
Very good.
So I said, I read here that what are the facts? Shabhanie Mashaba Mines has instituted sequestration proceedings against you
Okay.
to recover. That was fraudulently transferred to the businessman Speda Trading. This is what we have.
Good afternoon to our viewers and welcome to the 1873 TV, your vision, your power. My name is Tinashe Mpasiri. This afternoon on the 1873 TV, we bring you yet another exciting, informative and insightful show on the facts pertaining Shabhanie Mashaba Mines. And joining me this afternoon in the studios, the 1873 TV, is Mutunga Mawere. And in order to be able to get to these facts that we are looking at, that we are trying to establish before we get to the conclusion, which many of you are eager or itching to get to, we need to lay out these facts so that we have a better understanding of the issue. Mr. Mawere, a very good afternoon and welcome to the 1873 TV today.
Good afternoon.
On the 4th of June,
Mm-hmm.
I came across an article that was published in the Sunday Mail of that particular week, and this article was published by Darlington Musaruru, who happens to be the business editor of the Sunday Mail. The headline was 18 million fraud haunts Mawere. What we are trying to establish today is the fact that Shabhanie Mashaba Mines has instituted sequestration proceedings against you regarding the estate to recover more than 18 million rand that was fraudulently transferred to one of your companies.
Yeah, just the statement itself tells a lot. Shabhanie Mashaba Mines is a company generally known to be associated with me. It then is reported that the same company is instituting proceedings
Against you?
Against me. In a normal country, under normal circumstances, wouldn't you think that is very absurd that this can occur? This is your son or daughter goes to court to sue you, claiming or alleging fraud. What facts would lead you, my son, you, my daughter, to assert a claim of fraud in a court of law? What would have happened for that to take place? If you look at it in a holistic manner, and you are a business editor, not a bush editor, you would quickly know that there's something wrong with your first paragraph, and you would want to establish the facts. What are the facts? On the one hand, there's a company called SMM Holdings. On the other, there's a company called Speda Trading. And then on the other, in the same statement, it says South Africa best. You see, Mutuma Mawere, best. Would you describe somebody as best, or just Mutuma Mawere?
You just describe the individual, just the name, is it?
Yeah, But now now I have a new identity that is South African best, as if I was best elsewhere. When all these facts are gathered. So one of the things that we need to learn, which is critical, is that we must be able to see the woods from the trees. The bush, we place it there. So what is this case all about? What is being alleged as we go through? First, the company that was alienated from its shareholder by an act of state. Whereas before you were my son, today you are my enemy. And what has created this enmity is an act of state. The use of public power to separate somebody from his property. Then the property is now given a voice by a ministerial order issued not by the court, but the Minister of Justice. Purportedly or presumably Minister of Justice, because a real Minister of Justice would be appointed to uphold and protect and promote the interest of justice. In this case, you have a character in government called a Minister of Justice. What does he do? He says, if there is no separation between Mawere and the company, I have no case. So how do I give my case to take over property? Then I create a law to do that for the sole purpose of creating this injury. You know you're not injured. There are no facts. At the material time, SMM, Peter Trading, Southern Asbestos, these are the three companies involved. They were under one common control. And there's no dispute there. Who changed the control of these companies? It is a law, put not by a force of nature, but by men who are elected, appointed to uphold the very rights that are entrenched in the Constitution. That's what gives rise to this. But obviously, in the Sunday Mail, you won't get that treatment of fact. It says fraudulently. It says, to the businessmen see Peter Trading. Companies are juristic persons. They are persons in terms of the law. They don't belong to parents. Imagine how absurd this appears. That your son belongs to you. Your daughter belongs to you.
Just the phrasing itself tells you that there's something wrong when you say your son belongs to you.
But in Zimbabwe of today, there is this logic that actually government can create facts, can create a complaint and register it and assert it in a court of law. So when you say SMM, it's no longer SMM, the SMM that was associated with the very facts that are being used. None of the directors are actors in this drama. That is, someone makes a movie and gives it life. And one of the significant law firms is involved in this as part of this enterprise to assert something you know does not exist. But because you got the power of the state, you can actually do it. So it then says...
Okay, it goes on further to state that a sequestration order will make the former industrial magnate technically insolvent. Under South Africa's insolvency laws, when the order becomes operational, the debtor's assets are liquidated and distributed among creditors, which might mean an end to Mawere's vast and sprawling business empire. At the heart of the ex-tycoon's wars is a judgment by South Africa's High Court on October 11, 2012, which found that Mawere and one of his directors, Mr. Pamanathan Marimutu, used fraudulent court papers to effect an 18 million transfer due to SMM from Southern Asbestos Sales to Peter Trading.
So I think now we need Leroy to assist us, just to get the viewers out there to see what the judgment is saying. So you can actually Google this judgment under SMM versus Mawere, so we then can be factual.
And for you as a viewer out there, if you also want to access the document,
It's October 11, 2012.
you can be able to go to the 1873 TV Facebook page where they are also being shared. And the links you can always Google. The first one that we are looking at was the article in the Sunday Mail of the 4th of June 2017. So you can simply type Mawere Sunday Mail and it will appear on top. Then the judgment that we are looking at, just type SMM versus Mawere judgment on Google and it would actually appear on top.
You got it? Yeah. So the parties, you can look at the top. The plaintiff.
The plaintiff is SMM Holdings Private Limited.
And the defendant, the first defendant.
The first defendant, Mutungwadziwa Mawere. The second defendant, Pamanathan Marimutu.
And the judge.
The judge is
Willis
J.
Which is Judge Willis J. So, if you look at paragraph 3, paragraph 2.
Okay. At the root of the action is a purported agreement of cession in terms of which debts owed by SAS to the plaintiff were ceded to a South African company, Peter Trading, Pty Limited, PETA. This alleged cession gave rise to an application in this court, resulting in order being granted per Van Oosten, J, in order to...
No, in fact, yeah, you can go to the paragraph 3.
Okay, paragraph 3. The plaintiff alleges that as a result of the court order that was granted by Van Oosten J, SAS paid the sum claimed above to PETA when this money should have been paid to the plaintiff. The plaintiff alleges that the first and second defendants acted in concert as part of a fraudulent scheme to obtain this purported cession and the consequent court order given by Van Oosten J.
So if you look at what is being said, there are 3 companies. One, SMM Holdings Private Limited, located in Zimbabwe. Southern Asbestos Sales, a company located in South Africa. Peter Trading, a company located in South Africa. So in essence, what is being said is that SAS paid money to Peter after receiving a court order, after Peter sued SAS in South Africa. And the money was paid in pursuance of that order. So let's look at paragraph 91 of the same judgment so that we can then see the actual action.
Okay, I hope that everyone who's also following is on now paragraph 91. Paragraph 91 reads, in paragraphs 6.6 and 6.7, of the plaintiff's particulars of claim, it alleges as follows. On 6 May 2004, PETA obtained judgment against SAS for payment.
So first is PETA, not Mawere.
Yes.
Obtained judgment against SAS, not Mawere. So we are understanding each other.
We are understanding very clear on that one. For the payment of the amount of 74,872,468 rands and 49 cents, together with interest and costs, the session court order 6.7, purporting to act in accordance with the session court order.
Yeah, purporting to act. So I go with the court order to the bank and say, pay this money to the order of PETA, because I am using the judgment as a reason for payment. Is that correct?
That's correct.
It is stated as fact that SAS, not Mawere, during or about the period May 2004 to December 2004, paid to PETA an amount of 18 million,
43,373 rand
to the cent, and 21 cents.
21 yes.
So when you go to the cent, it's no longer a conjecture. It's not an assumed number. It assumes that somebody knows how these payments were made up.
Yes.
And they accumulated them. They would know the date the payments were made. And they will have the record in court. Because it's part of your claim. You are claiming somebody made that somebody. And you don't have the body. You come to court and say, I'm alleging someone committed murder. But I don't have a body.
Of that person who was murdered.
And the judge says, it doesn't matter. You don't need a body. So that's, just read that correctly. It then says, in response to this allegation, the first defendant expressly admitted not only that PETA had obtained, it's now the first defendant who has to admit
that payment was.
Why go to court if there's an admission?
There's no need.
Why would the judge need to be there? Because it is the plaintiff who has to prove his or her own case. The burden of proof is vested with the one who alleges. You can't say that the victim is the one that must confirm that I was raped. But it is for the state to prove that indeed the facts fit the description of rape. In this case, the judge is not even talking about the plaintiff's case. He's shifting to the defendant. Now look at paragraph 93.
So paragraph 93, it states that the first defendant declined to give evidence. He called one witness only, Mr. Clopas Sanangura.
The first defendant is me. And I'm asked to give evidence of something that didn't take place.
Yet it's alleged who is supposed to.
Yeah, I'm supposed to put myself to answer questions of something that didn't take place. Because if it did take place as alleged, that money was paid, then all you needed to do was to come to court with bank statements, which confirm. It will show on this day I paid 5,000. The next day I paid 2,000. The next day I paid $100, 100 rand and 20 cents. So the judge is saying, can you defend? I'm not a director of the company. You can also look at 96. 96, before we go there, 96, 96.4.
96.4 states that SAS and PETA shared a common principal place of business at AHI House, 325 Rivonia Boulevard, Rivonia, Johannesburg.
That's where we are, the same address.
Yes.
Then, number 5, it says that the first defendant had been a director of SAS, more particularly during the period 1 April 1996 to 1 March 2004. What does paragraph say? 1 say? When was the money supposed to have been paid?
Paragraph 1 is stating that.
No, paragraph 91.
91.
Yeah. It is saying that the money was paid during May.
May 2004 and December of 2004.
So there are 2 months missing. So it means in May, between May and December, I couldn't have been a director.
Yes. Because it's clearly stated 96.
96, the same judge is actually telling that at the end of the trial, the following facts were common cause. No dispute that I was not a director. Then, number 7, number 5, no, number 6.
Number 6 states that the first defendant had been a director of PETA, more particularly from 1 July 1998 to 1 March 2004.
So again, it shows that at the material time, I was not a director. But look at what he is saying on paragraph 94, the last sentence.
He accepted that it was correct that the first defendant had, at all material times, been a director of SAS.
We have established what is common cause. What are the facts? And the same judge forgets
that he has already established this fact.
Establish this fact. Then he imports evidence that was never there. And he manufactures the evidence. Okay, let's go to 93. It says he called one witness only, Mr. Klopper Sanangura. Mr. Sanangura confirmed that he had been the financial manager of SAS from 2001 to October 2004, and that his signature appears on the session agreement, which he had signed on behalf of SAS. So you have a witness representing SAS, so he would have known this payment.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What does Sanangura say as to when the payments, because you can agree that the timing of payment was the issue in dispute. If money was paid during May to December 2004, then it would fit the facts of fraud, because you obtained an order for the sole purpose of using it to commit an offense. If money was paid before, then there was no offense, because you can't intend to do something that already has happened. It will be common sense.
Yes.
And anyone who is a reasonable person, who is impartial, who is independent, would know those facts. So what is said in that judgment?
Okay.
It's on 94 now.
94. He said that SAS had paid PETA the amount of 18 million rand before the signing of the session agreement.
That in itself means the money, according to the witness who was working for SAS, not me, the money was paid before the session agreement. So the allegation that money was paid during May to December as a consequence of the session agreement would have already fallen flat, because there were no facts. What does the judge do? He comes in and says the same Sanangura confirm, no bank statements, nothing, no evidence placed before the court. He then says Sanangura confirmed the allegations in paragraph 6.7, which paragraph refers to what? The use of what? The purported use of the session agreement for payments during May to December. He says, Sanangura said it's correct. So it means there were funds paid before
And there were funds
paid after. The absurdity of it. Even to anyone. There is an allegation of 18 million. Your finding is that 2 payments.
There was 80, the findings basically, there was 80 million paid before and 80 million paid after.
After.
So in total, 36 million would have been paid.
Paid. So this is what Darlington Musarurwa is talking about. Then you see the problem. Now let's go to this Sanangura person. I think there are some court papers that were there. There were some emails. The big document. I think there's a letter that Sanangura wrote. You got it? Yeah. The first page.
Yes, this is the 1873 TV with Tinashe Mpasiri as well as in the studio with Mr. Mutuma Mawere. As we unpack this article that has been that was published on the 4th of June 2017 in the Sunday Mail by business editor Darlington Musarurwa. We're trying to get to the bottom of the matter, what the facts are at the end of the day. So if you have just tuned in and wondering what is it exactly we're talking about, it is in regards to these facts that we are trying to establish. Then as we go along, having construct of these facts, we can be able to better understand this matter, and it will also enlighten us and better inform us on what really transpired before we come to conclusions, because many would be throwing out questions out there, what then should transpire, what should have happened. But I think as we go step by step, we can have a better understanding of all these issues.
So if we look at what Sanangura is saying, the first page, we want to see who he was writing to. There is an email written by Sanangura, and it was written, what was the date? On the first page. It's annexure CS1. It's on the documents with emails. Not the court document.
It's not the court document.
No, it's the other one with the long list of documents. No? The one that came on WhatsApp. Yeah. The email was from kloppers@donholdings.com, dated Saturday, 10th January. You got it? So just waiting for the connection there so that we have...
we are all in sync with the viewers.
Okay, you got it. Okay, it's an email dated 10th January 2015. It's addressed to Mr. Michael Katz. It says, compliments of the season. Again, attached, please find my letter to you and your firm regarding the above matter. It's SMM Private Limited versus Mawere and another case number 20235/2017 006 2012, ZAGPJHC 186. The date of the judgment was 11 October 2012. This serves to correct the misleading conclusions made by Judge Willis, which affects my reputation. I would like this judgment to be corrected urgently. I have copied this letter to relevant stakeholders whom I think need to be informed at this stage. I look forward to your response. It then states the letter was actually dated 9th January. The reason for my letter to you is that it has come to my attention that serious credibility findings have been made by Willis J. against my good name and character in the judgment in respect of the above matter. In the matter, the court was to determine the following questions: whether Southern Asbestos Sales Limited, hereinafter referred to as SAS, in liquidation, owed your client SMM Holdings Private Limited an amount of South African rands 18,043,374 rand and 21 cents. Whether a debtor to creditor relationship between SAS and SMM existed in the jurisdiction of South Africa. Whether the cession agreement was devised for the purpose of diverting funds, permitting the diversion of funds due to your client from SAS by paying to Peter Trading. Whether the diversion of funds did take place consequent upon the order of Van Oosten J. Whether the alleged diversion of funds resulted in your client suffering a loss of 18 million rand, 43,374 and 21 cents, being the funds allegedly paid by SAS to Peter Trading. As you can see, there is no mawere in that. Anyone would have said, this should be quite clear, but justice does not work on that basis. So this is the letter. On paragraph 114 of Willis' judgment, the court's actual finding was that, based on evidence adduced during trial, that the probabilities were beyond reasonable doubt that it's not probabilities. Imagine you have a bank statement, an account, a company. That is a juristic person, doesn't have a pocket. He doesn't have a pillowcase to cause money to be hidden. And the judge is saying probabilities. He's working on probabilities on something that should be factually established. Either money was paid, and these were the transfers, whether by EFT, by check, but whatever it is.
Which could be easily
authenticated.
Yes.
In this case, that evidence is not before the judge. And what does the judge say? That the cession agreement was divided for the purpose of diverting funds which were due to the plaintiff by SAS out of the accounts to SAS, from SAS to Peter. That a diversion of funds took place consequent upon the court order of Van Oosten J. That the diversion of funds resulted in the plaintiff suffering a loss of 18 million. Imagine you suffer a loss of blood and there's no injection. There's nobody who takes the blood out. And the judge says, this is what happened. When regard is here to the contents of paragraph 108 of the judgment, it is clear that an inference is made that in order for the court to arrive at the above mentioned factual findings, an adverse finding had to be made regarding my credibility, reliability, and the probabilities that the scale of justice was tilted in favor of your client's version. Imagine this is now playing to you. You are the person who signed the session, which session agreement was alleged to have caused an order to be obtained, which order was then purportedly used to divert funds. You are not a defendant in the matter. The target is Mawere, not the defendant. Nothing is there. Then you have a judgment that says money was paid as a matter of fact, based on admissions, not based on evidence. That a person could allege that you killed somebody, goes to court, and goes through trial, and you have the evidence. The person who should have known of that death is saying, I don't know anything about this death.
And there's no death for starters.
Yeah, not even if it was. But there must be facts. That this man with birth certificate number X is expired, is nowhere to be found. But if you know where to be found, how do you know that is dead?
Could have jumped the border into another country.
Into another country. But this is what is being said. So, this is Mr. Sanangura. He then states in the letter, I think which can be read, as people can do, that no such facts. Paragraph 20, with respect to the timing of the payment of 18 million by SAS to Peter Trading, my evidence that is that SAS had paid Peter Trading the amount in question before the signing of the session agreement. And that version was not challenged in court.
That money was paid before the signing.
Yeah.
The judge just let it go.
If it's not challenged, the judge has no room
Yes.
to give legs to other facts. But miraculously, this happened. And Mr. Darlington Musarurwa has no conception except to write perhaps what his masters told him. So these are the facts. If the person didn't see murder, didn't see evil, and also he states that in your own finding, Mawere was not a director, but you are now putting words into my mouth to say he was at the material time, because you want to make a finding that is already predetermined. You see, so if in court you go there, the facts, they must be self-standing.
Yes.
I cannot buy facts. I cannot import them. I cannot manufacture them.
They're self-evident at the end of the day.
Yeah. If what you are alleging happened, it happened. You will be the first one to run to the bank to say, let me subpoena the records of the bank so that what? I get this issue. So we go to, so Mr. Sanangura did take this matter up, and I don't know whether the viewers out there need the letter to be written in full, because paragraph 22 would also tell you that Sanangura believed that the judge erred. And we will go into the case that is before the High Court of South Africa dealing with this. According to Sanangura, this judgment was obtained by fraud. It was tainted with fraud because the plaintiff knew and ought to have known that the facts that were presented or that informed the course of action, those facts
Were misleading. Were wrong.
did not exist. And that the person they were targeting was not a director. And even if he was, there was no money, there was no injury, there was no blood sucking. Because imagine you're upstream and you are a farmer downstream and the water is diverted. It means you have less water. But if no water is diverted and you go to court saying that the water was diverted, wouldn't the judge want to see whether this happened as a matter of fact?
Well, it didn't.
And those facts are independent of the parties. It will show that on this day there was a canal put to divert.
Yes.
And this is what happened. What happened is what happened. I don't need to manufacture. But the judgment is there for people to see. This is not somebody who is manufacturing. So why would you expect the Sunday Times? It is to be fair and factual.
The Sunday Mail.
A Sunday Mail. It's not Sunday Times, yeah.
Sunday Times.
So we can now go through the article again, which is, it then says, SMM, Southern Asbestos, and Peter Trading were all sister companies under Africa Resources Limited, an investment holding company Mr. Mawere formed in 1995. So do you understand these are all companies that are under one common stable.
Yes.
So what took one company out of the stable? What caused it? What would be the causation? Then you find the hands, dirty hands of government actors.
Involved in this.
Yeah.
war.
In this theft,
Enterprise.
hijacking, invasion. It's worse than farm invasion. Because people cannot place it in their minds. Imagine somebody creating a wage between two people by law. Then Dr. Ngosana Moyo says it's personal. Huh? I don't want to deal with those facts because I want to be a president first. After I become a president, then
I'll be unreachable.
then I'll be unreachable. So it says, after acquiring Zimbabwean and Zambian assets belonging to United Kingdom domicile TNN PLC in March, acquiring. So once I have acquired, how is it that I will lose control after acquiring? Imagine I acquire this phone. All of a sudden, it ends up in your pocket and you are using it. Then you accuse the person who acquired to be a thief. Huh?
That's really absurd, to be honest.
That's what is being reported. Mr. Mawere, as the sole ARL shareholder, effectively gained control of SMM. So that's common cause to Darlington. So how did I lose control? After controlling, all of a sudden, I'm no longer in control. What happened? Was it the market that resulted in the loss of control? Or human hands and human mind
That were involved.
that were involved?
And whose hands were this? Whose minds were this?
So we see, we have already seen that one character is Chinamasa, with the hands deep in this whole thing. So he knew, ought to have known, that no money was diverted. But to sustain this charade of conspiracy, they have to create a case. Imagine, these facts are known. And they have been known in Zimbabwe. That actually no diversion took place. What would Chinamasa say? Does President Mugabe know these facts? Does the faction know that Chinamasa belongs? He maybe belongs to a basket where facts are not that important. Maybe Chinamasa also what? He wants to be president one day. But imagine you know what you now know. That Chinamasa can give legs to facts. That he can use Gwarazimba to create facts that don't exist. Solely to prove a point that the government can do whatever it wants to do. Or human beings close with public power, that they can actually use public power
To their self-benefit.
They may say that they are not benefiting, just to say I decide I don't like you. And because I don't like you, I'll create a complaint against you. I don't have to prove it, because I got the power
To do so.
to do so.
To destroy you.
And if you don't like it, you get over it. If you get over it, I'll still be in power. That's the Zimbabwe that is now part of this. So we go to what? To the same article, Mr. Darlington.
So the next paragraph states that SMM was incorporated in Zimbabwe, while Southern Asbestos and Peter Trading were registered in South Africa.
So already you have jurisdiction. You have two companies registered in South Africa, but now subject to Zimbabwean law. Because what they are saying is, we want Mawere in Zimbabwe. He committed an offense as well. That's why we took his companies.
Because he committed an offense in South Africa.
But Zimbabwe has jurisdiction. Because the reason for placing the company under reconstruction was because of this same allegation. Absent this allegation, what would happen? And they're talking about facts that occurred in South Africa. But they'd already taken preemptive action.
Though Southern Asbestos and Peter Trading were liquidated in June 2015 and September 2015 respectively, the October 12 ruling by Justice Nigel Willis, who now sits on South Africa's Supreme Court bench, made Mr. Mawere and Marimutu liable to prejudice that SMM suffered.
It's stated as fact that SMM suffered prejudice by Darlington. What if Darlington is a blind person? Because even if you present him with facts, which I did, he still believes in superstition. That if a judge who is white, who is now in the Supreme Court, he's a little god.
He forgets that the judge is also human, just like him,
Yeah.
just like you and I.
But he says no. Because it's Mawere, the judge is right. So he's not interested in the facts. He's saying SMM is claiming prejudice. Imagine I said, I stepped on your toe. And it's painful. Then somebody claims on your behalf, goes to the police station and says, Mawere stepped on my toe. Where? I'm not sure. But I suffered an injury. Oh, my daughter was raped. Where? In Japan. Were you in Japan? No. But I believe it's rape. I can feel it. That is the challenge we face. So if we are dealing with this kind of nonsense, then you can see the challenge.
Absolutely, it's a huge challenge indeed, and especially when it comes to the fact that this is actually public power that was used to create all these nonsensical things that we've come to learn of.
Yeah.
It's something that actually rattles me at the end of the day, especially considering that in most countries, be it Angola, elections are just around the corner. Next year in Zimbabwe, 2018 elections will be taking place. In 2019 in South Africa, elections will be taking place. What is it as an individual are you voting for, and why are you even voting at the end of the day? Do you understand what your power, that power that you give up, that you lend to that individual who acts in the name of government is being useful? It's high time as individuals we take the stand to ensure that there's accountability as far as public power is concerned and how it's used. And this takes our time to the close of this program, but before we actually close the program, Mr. Mawere, maybe your last words in rounding.
I think we are learning, and learning doesn't stop. And I think it is important that we look at all the facts that need to be known, that need to be ventilated, so that we all can be better for it.
Well, viewers who joined us on the various platforms that we were streaming, be it on Zimbabwe Today, the 1873 TV, and other social media platforms, we thank you so much for choosing us and also following this series that we're having as far as learning about institution. This is part of institution building that I'm learning of. It's very fundamental that we know about facts pertaining to the demise of Shabhanie Mashaba mines, so that at the end of the day, as individuals, we are better informed, we are better equipped, and we can be able to understand how public power is used, and more importantly, how institutions function. When we have a better understanding of how institutions function, it means
maybe, what do you think, Lilo? Perhaps we can extend it? Or, we can extend it just to deal with what? With the facts. So that we missed Friday.
Yes, we missed Friday, absolutely, and we can possibly extend it so that at the end of the day, people are well versed with these issues that we are dealing with, and the facts can be clarified. We can go back to the article in the Sunday Mail of June the 4th, 2017, where we had just looked at paragraph 4 of the Sunday Mail. So we're going on to paragraph 5 of this article, which was published by Darlington Saruro. So the paragraph 5 reads, the judgment enforced section 424 of 1 of the Companies Act, which states that when it appears whether to be in a winding up, judicial management, or otherwise, that any business of the company was or is being carried on recklessly or with intent to defraud creditors of the company or creditors of any other person or for any fraudulent purpose, the court may, on the application of the master, the liquidator, the judicial manager, any creditor or member of or contributory of the company, declare any person who was knowingly a party to the carrying on of the business in the manner aforementioned shall be personally responsible without any limitation of liability for all or any of the debts or other liabilities of the company as the court may direct. So that is paragraph 5 of the article of the Sunday Mail. Goes on to the next one, where he had a subheading stated exhausted options.
Mm-hmm.
For 4 years, SMM has struggled to recover the money as Mr. Mawere pursued various legal options to rescind the judgment.
To rescind?
To rescind the judgment. While fellow director Mr. Marimutu accepted his fate in terms of the judgment, Mr. Mawere has been trying to get it reversed. At first, he applied for leave to appeal. That was dismissed, Then he applied for direct access to South Africa's Constitutional Court, case number 16 of 13. That was also dismissed with cause. Subsequently, he petitioned South Africa's Supreme Court of Appeal for leave to appeal case number SCA 376 of 2013. Again, that was dismissed and again with cause. At the point, Mr. Mawere applied to rescind the court order that was made for him to restitute the money owed to SMM. The result, another dismissal with cause. Despite exhausting all legal avenues, Mr. Mawere did not repay the 18 million rand, resulting in the sequestration proceedings instituted on November 16, 2016. Then the next subheading reads last card. Now Mr. Clopas Sanangura, who was the Southern Asbestos financial manager when the fraudulent transactions took place, has applied for rescission application, case number 2016 of 40602, to stay the execution of October 2012 order, and also to seek to intervene in the sequestration application. SMM's lawyers, Edward Nathan Sonnenbergs Inc., ENS Africa, have interpreted Mr. Sanangura's move as an abuse of court process and simply the next installment in a litany of matters where Mawere seeks to avoid the consequences of the order.
Can you imagine? This is a big law firm in South Africa, and they are actually becoming part of the dispute. And they are saying, I'm abusing the court in seeking the court to address the issues in motion. Because this case is simple, nothing turns on it. If money was diverted, it was diverted. The bank statements will be there.
Yes.
What is the abuse? Than for you to say, I benefit from a judgment and I know there are no facts to support it. And I go home and I sleep. And I say, that's what democracy ought to bring. And this is Edward Nathan, a big law firm, saying this, the last installment of a litany of matters where Mawere seeks to avoid the consequence of the order. So if the order is based on facts that do not exist, would you want to benefit from such an order?
Absolutely not.
Couldn't you extend yourself wherever possible to make sure that you are within the ambit of justice?
Absolutely, especially considering that these are legal practitioners.
Yeah.
And they're there to enable that individuals at the end of the day get justice.
Imagine what Darlington says. Mr. Sanangura avers that execution of the judgment will erroneously make him complicit to the fraud that was committed between May and December 2004. So Darlington says, as a matter of fact, there was fraud. Money was paid during May to December 2004. He claims that the judgment, which was made after a fully contested trial, in which he was the key witness, depended on mischaracterized evidence, purportedly contributed by him. We just read what paragraph 94 says.
Yes.
He says money was paid before. And they're saying, by admitting that the money was paid before, that's not valid. If money was paid after, the onus is on who to prove it?
Oh, the one who's alleging.
Alleging. It's not for Sanangura. to disprove anything or to prove anything. He has no obligation. He's just a witness, only to talk about things he knows. And he has no facts to support the claim. Because if he had facts, he would be the one they asked to bring statements. They will be having the statements and saying, on this date, this money was paid. On this date, this money was paid. But what does Darlington say? If the judgment and court order are allowed to stand, Mr. Sanangura believes they will have an immense reputational damage on him. Precisely because if you are part and parcel of the commission of an offense, and the state says, I have no interest in you. I know you were part and parcel of this scheme. And money was paid as a consequence of an agreement you signed. A court order that was obtained. Money that you allegedly paid. And they say, we have no interest in you because our interest is Mawere.
Targeting just one particular individual.
Justice now has legs. Has got eyes. It is looking like a robot. And says, this one I have no interest. I know you are involved.
But we don't want you.
Yeah. So if what I did resulted in somebody being asked to pay for something that didn't happen, it means I was part of the fraud. How can you call me a non-fraudster? I am also part of the fraud. He comes to court, not anywhere else. And they're saying, no, don't come to court, you're being used. He says, I signed the agreement, it's not in dispute. But I have no knowledge of what you are alleging. Can you come to court? Present the evidence. Because if it existed in 2004, surely what will change?
It will still exist.
It will still exist. All you need is paper to show that this is the money trail. Money is the legs. It requires someone to trigger its movement. In this case, there was nothing. Then you say there's justice. So, in an answering affidavit dated May 25, 2017, Ms. Kirsty Leigh Simpson of ENS Africa argues that Mr. Sanangura, who she describes as clearly friendly with Mawere, not with justice, it's now about Mawere, is making the same arguments initially made by the latter, which is Mawere. The fact that he only instituted this rescission application when the sequestration application was instituted is indicative of the fact that Sanangura is simply using the rescission application to delay the execution of the order, which he expressly confirmed is not brought to clear his name. But we'll just, Leroy has just shown us the letter of 2015,
Which
Sanangura wrote to ENS. But she says now, this Sanangura is an opportunist. He's a puppet, like everybody in the characterization of what? Of Africa. Either you're captured, you are a crony, a buffoon, you are a surrogate. Even I think Dr. Moses, you are also a clone for asking about SMM.
You've been captured.
You've been captured. So that is the letter. I don't know, Mishana normally joins us. Is he still alive? Okay. Mawere, she says now, Mawere has exhausted all his legal remedies, and now Sanangura is attempting to delay the inevitable. What is inevitable about injustice? Eh? Then she goes on to say, apart from saying Mr. Sanangura has no local standard, right, capacity to bring this action, ENS Africa also contends that the application has been submitted late. Last week, Ms. Simpson told the Sunday Mail business that she has no mandate to engage with the media in regard to this matter, but she already said a lot. And Mr. Gwarazimba also said he could not comment as the matter was before the court. If the matter was before the court, then what is the title saying?
The title itself reads
18 million.
18 million. Fraud on Mawere.
But if there is something that is pending before the court, what is the wanting about?
There wouldn't be no wanting it all.
Because the judgment cannot supersede what is before the court until what is before the court has been adjudicated. Then there's still so many legs in court. But what is she saying? She has now become part of the case. What interest does she have? Mr. Sanangura now is not stranger to the courts. Now they're turning to Mr. Sanangura. After the 11 October 2012 judgment, which ordered Messrs. Mawere and Manmutu to pay 18 million rand, the former Southern Asbestos executive wrote to the chair of what? Of ENS, Professor Michael Katz. You know Mr. Katz? A very famous person. He accused SMM's lawyers, Ms. Simpson and an advocate Botha and Justice Willis, of improperly relying on his evidence or testimony given during court proceedings to conclude that he facilitated the fraud. He threatened to file criminal charges against the law firm unless the company clarified that he was not involved in the fraudulent scheme. ENS Africa are gearing up for another court battle. On January 19 this year, the law firm wrote to Mr. Sanangura advising him that they would contest his latest move. In the answering affidavit, Ms. Simpson makes reference to Sanangura's misconduct while he was still employed by Messrs. Zimbabwe Private Limited as a financial manager. Now they're turning to him to say Messrs. Zimbabwe is actually with a C. Messrs. Zimbabwe hit several times and sought to retrench Mr. Sanangura and other employees. But as retrenchment talks dragged, Messrs. Zimbabwe decided to dismiss Mr. Sanangura for misconduct. More specifically, it was alleged that the appellant, Mr. Sanangura, had converted to his own use large sums belonging to the respondent, Messrs. Zimbabwe. He was suspended and the company sought permission from the Labour Ministry to fire him. Mr. Sanangura approached the High Court of Zimbabwe seeking an order to attach Messrs. funds to recover what he felt was due to him. But before the order was granted, he attached some funds nonetheless, and the High Court dismissed the order he had sought in the first place. Mr. Sanangura appealed to the Supreme Court, which, in dismissing his appeal, noted that he had not made any attempt to deal with the misconduct allegations leveled against him. Now the issue is no longer, it's now dirty linen. They are now throwing the mud on Sanangura. By the time he removes the mud, Sanangura is no longer seeing the wood from the trees. And with Titi Simbarashe, why can't we have a full panel to hear from both parties? As it stands, it seems it's a PR program for Mr. Mawere. Actually, with it, facts stand on their own. I think we can find somebody who can have new facts. And it won't stop anyone from phoning in, from checking, participating. This is just to make sure that the facts as we know them and the judgment as we know it, the facts are there. So there is no need to reinvent the facts. I think even Darlington Musarurwa can assist you, but clearly, please write comments where you believe that facts are being mischaracterized. Do by all means be part of the conversation. So that's the, isn't it amazing that even with facts, people want to supplement facts?
It's very mind-boggling as well that this is the kind of thinking that individuals have at the end of the day when facts are clearly stated, and which should take us somewhere instead of being moved from the course that we are actually taking, that will enable us to better understand this issue.
Because who will be harmed by facts?
No one will be harmed by facts, but the people should benefit from those facts.
Because you can read the court documents anyway. This information is not private, it's public. And if there was anything untoward, but even with it, I think you would recognize that when your son sues you, or your son is separated from you by an act of state, then something is wrong. So I don't think there's any other way of expressing it other than just to state what it is, what the facts are. And I think we're checking with Leroy whether Mushana can also join us. Okay. So we just hear that he's not online. So let's go ahead.
Okay, now on the Sunday, the same article, the Sunday Mail article of the 4th of June 2017, we also have the SMM timeline. April 2004, Mrs. Mtuma Mawere and Pamanathan Marimutu procure a signature for a session agreement.
Procure. Have you ever heard that word? The person who signed the document says, I signed it.
Procure.
Then what is being said is, I caused Sanangura to sign on behalf of SAS. Which question was not put before Sanangura in court? To say, if you were forced, why didn't you report to the police? Surely it would be an offense. So it was procured. They don't say that I signed it. They say, although I was not a director, I am so powerful that I can cause things to happen by remote control. Okay?
In terms of which Southern Asbestos sells Shabhanie and Mashaba Mines marketing arm in South Africa, purports to cede more than 74 million rand to Peter Trading. The funds are ostensibly meant to pay for equipment supplies. Curiously, the session agreement is backdated to 2003. Messrs. Mawere and Marimutu get a court order from Justice Van Oosten on the basis of the session agreement. However, during the application for the order, SMM is not saved with the papers.
Okay, so let's say the one issue is that they are creating an impression that Peter was not owed money by SMM. And they're saying during May to December, as a matter of fact, more than 80 million is transferred to Peter Trading. the movement of the funds is deemed illegal. It's actually stating as fact that there was a movement and contravened Zimbabwe's exchange control. Also, SMM's board does not sanction the transaction. So we're looking just at that timeline. And if you look at the letter, Leroy, it says, you got it?
I'm still waiting for it to appear on the screen. Okay,
Yeah.
So it reads that the amount shown on the letter of consent of 74 million rand was not the amount owed by AA Mines to Peter Trading Pty Limited. The correct amount as at the 31st of March 2004 was 19.6 million rand. I therefore did not understand why Dr.
Yeah. So if you check just that section, it confirms that Peter was owed money by SMM. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So if I pay to somebody you owe money to, it's not a diversion.
No, it's not.
It can't be a diversion because if you pay what you owe, there's no loss, there's no injury.
There's no
And
injury.
18 million is less than 19 what you owe.
Yes.
So you go down as well. Leroy, let's go down. So that's one signatory. And it was in the police. When was it signed? In July of 2004. Is that correct? Just go to the Zimbabwe Republic's police stamp. So this man appeared before the police in July. So these facts were known. And they don't change. That Peter Trading was owed money. Do you see that in the summary of what? Of Darlington? No.
No.
Then we have another one, another statement there. Yeah. We have another statement there. Page 86.
Okay, still waiting for appear on my screen.
Not yet. We got it.
So it's now appearing. Okay, it's not yet appearing on my screen, but I'll try to read it from here. I would like to highlight at this stage that
Now the people need to see it, is it? How do we?
Okay, I would like to highlight at this stage that as far as I am concerned, AM owed Peter Trading only 19,622,777 rand and 4 cents. I cannot establish the basis on which the amount of 74,872,468 rand and 49 cents was arrived at, even after taking into account amounts under dispute not yet verified with Peter Trading. The total indebtedness to Peter Trading is not likely to exceed 26.8 million, which is reflected on Peter Trading statement.
So, yeah, go down. It's signed by what? At the Criminal Investigation Department. What date was that?
The date was the 16th of July 2004.
Yeah. So as of that date, already there was a criminal matter. Hmm?
This is exactly 13 years.
Yeah. So, do we see so that record is from the finance manager of AA Mines. He is confirming that AA Mines owed 26 million as at that time.
To Peter.
So if 18 was paid, which is greater, 26 or 18?
26 is greater.
So why would somebody who has been paid allege fraud? Huh? Why would that person allege fraud?
And then you wonder why at the end of the day, this is basically the fact that Darlington is very ignorant about the facts and circumstances regarding this matter, which he could have first looked into before publishing this article.
Yeah. So let's go down again. There's another one. Okay.
Later on, in a meeting held in Mr. Chipato's office, the group treasurer explained that SMM Private Limited owed Peter Trading 28 million rand and 39 million rand, which related to the acquisition of Schweppes Private Limited. In the acquisition of Schweppes, Coca-Cola surrendered it to Fidelity Life Asset Management, FLAM, F-L-A-M, on condition that FLAM would inject $5.8 million to re-equip Schweppes. Peter Trading in South Africa sourced for the equipment of Schweppes project. SMM Holdings got involved with the Schweppes acquisition when FLAM surrendered its agency to SMM Holdings, as SMM was believed to have experience in managing a manufacturing business.
Okay, down.
So I make this statement conscientiously believing the same to be true. Signed, James Kariza. This was in July 2004, and
There is a stamp there.
there's a stamp.
So he is confirming that it was not just 18 million, it was not 26 million, it was not 19 million. But from a group office, the relationship between Peter and SMM Holdings was only not in respect of the mining division. So this, there you have it. Darlington, does he have these facts? Is he interested in those facts?
I'm sure he's
In his timeline,
he's not interested in the facts, because if you go to the timeline itself, there's no way it's stated as far as these facts. They took place in 2004,
yeah.
and as you can see,
And there were affidavits to the police confirming that there is a relationship between what?
Peter
Trading.
SMM.
And the judge says, I don't know why you would pay Peter, because Peter had no relationship with what?
With SMM.
With SMM. Where did these facts come from? Wouldn't you have an investigative journalist if Darlington Musarugwa was one who is not captured, who is just a journalist?
Yes.
He would be digging, calling me Simpson. How the hell do you say this when the facts are here? But lo and behold, the distortion of facts. It is not that the session agreement was fraudulent. Agreement, how does an agreement fraud? Imagine I sign an agreement with you and nothing happens out of it.
An agreement can only be signed when people, two parties or more, agree to something.
But if there's no prejudice to you,
Then
Can you seriously go to court
No way.
and claim prejudice?
There's no way you can do that.
You cannot claim prejudice. So this is Mr. Musarurwa. You see? So this is the state media. When we talk about the role of the media in distorting facts, in creating a make-believe world where facts just mushroom from air, visit your mind, become real, and payment of funds takes place in the mind. And this miracle happens. And then someone says, okay, guys, I want the other facts. Surely, wouldn't the same person say, I want the bank statements from Mr. Kwarazimba, Mr. Shinamasa? You owe the Zimbabwean people the truth. The people who work at the mine, those people, they need the truth. And what is Wititi Simbarashe saying? No, the truth is not important, it's propaganda. Where is he getting this? It means in his head, there's a reality. And how many of us are not interested in facts?
The majority are not interested in facts. They are all interested in hearsay.
Yeah. So if they're interested in hearsay, they will say, even the papers that Leroy was showing us, those papers actually amount to nothing because people will still say, are you sure they are not photocopies?
And they are not photoshopped.
They are not Photoshop. And you got the stamp of Zimbabwe Republic Police.
Someone manufactured that stamp.
We know these people. They can create a stamp out of
Photoshop.
out of Photoshop. Instead of just going to Simpson and saying, give us the bank statements.
Yes.
Money was paid according to Musarurwa's version. What does he say? Musarurwa is very clear that between May and December, more than 8 is transferred.
To pay the trading.
What is transfer?
It's payment.
Eh? No, transfer, it means
Movement
it's a
of funds.
movement
From one account to the
other
other
account.
Yes.
So if there's no other account, first I must establish, for me to move, the money must exist.
Yes, it must be existing in another account.
Yeah.
Then there must be another account that
That received it.
Yes.
So there's a deduction
And there's increase in another account.
in another account.
So
You debit which one?
you debit the one that is receiving,
Yeah. And credit
the one that is giving.
that is giving. But these elementary rules of accounts,
They don't apply to it.
they don't apply to facts.
Because one could have easily gotten the account numbers, okay, which account from the money came from, and the account to which the money went to.
It will show. Did it come as one payment?
Or they were
50
tranches,
payments?
Or they were tranches.
Where did the payment, how was it effected? And by who? Then you bring the person to court
Who authorized the payment?
to say who authorized
Yes.
the payment. All that is not done. Because justice has got eyes. Huh? And you'd expect that even the Zimbabwe Anti-Corruption Commission will be the first one to latch on this. To say that clearly there's a problem. Where does the problem? It doesn't start in South Africa. You can't blame the judge. Because the judge does not give legs to anything, does not conceive. And this is pregnancy created by somebody. Eh? So why was the conception? Who was there? Could Shinamasa have been there? Answer is yes. Because could the current Minister of Justice have been there? If he wasn't there, he would be the first one, including the ZimDev issue, taking this matter to the Anti-Corruption Commission to say, can you investigate? Did SMM owe money to Peter? Yes or no? At the material time, we have affidavits. Let's get the originals. Because the originals must be at the police station.
Yes.
They must have a record. The people who deposit the affidavit, you can check their signatures. Then you say you're owed money, but the same person you are claiming injured you. Even people who are not grateful would still be true to the facts. They'll say, okay, on this one, we failed to find Mawere in it. Let's try another time. But this is not the case. How desperate can people become? That for 13 years, imagine Dr. Moyo wanted to be president, genuinely. And he knew this. Imagine Tangira knew this. Imagine everybody knew this. To say, Mr. President, are you aware that fraud is committed in your name? That murder they wrote did not occur. But we have a judgment saying there's murder occurred. But we don't know where the body is. Nobody's interested in that. Wouldn't you find all these contestants by the next count, those who want to be president, you can imagine how many are they going to be? And they are free people to research. They are free people to establish the facts. They are free people not to be superstitious. They are free people not to rely on what they are told. But are they interested in facts?
Absolutely not.
What did Dr. Moyo say to you?
He was not interested.
It's a personal matter.
Yes.
Leave it. What is personal about this?
This is not personal. It has to do with the rule of law. This has to do with property rights. It affects each and every individual in Zimbabwe.
And you did ask the vice president. You have the tape that you recorded.
Yes.
Huh? I think, Leroy, can you play the tape so that we hear?
You can go to SoundCloud, or you have.
So this is the issue of the rule of law. And do you think this case alone confirms that there is respect to the rule of law?
It actually clearly shows that there's no regard of the rule of law. There's no respect of the rule of law, and there's no regard of property rights.
So they will say, what is property in this matter? Even the rule of law, can you imagine your wife suing you because the suit is created by men? That the divorce, you must be against your husband so that this matter can see its what? Its way in court. And imagine the amnesia. That, what is Darlington, what? What does he call himself? What title does he have?
Business editor
Of
Sunday Mail, of the Sunday Mail.
the real Sunday man.
It must be in Tripoli somewhere.
The Zim paper Sunday man.
Zim paper Sunday Mail.
I think we need to go over Darlington. I think let's play the tapes and we call Darlington. So maybe on tomorrow's show, why don't you call Darlington so that we have another
We
view?
have a different view,
Yeah,
so that people
because,
like Simba can also.
They can see that we are not trying to pull wool over people's eyes. That actually you found it?
It's playing, but he can't hear it.
Yeah?
It's playing outside, but we can't hear it.
Oh, he's playing outside. Maybe you can try Fred. So while so we just.
Can hear it.
Hmm?
The people can hear it now. It's playing.
Oh, they can hear it.
You can't hear it in the studio.
Ah, okay.
So you can actually.
So he just asked who can hear. So that's the.
So we were not allowed to make legislation to acquire land. Anyway, to abide by that. In 1992, after the expiration of 10 years, I became Minister of Justice. And I was given the mission to bring legislation to appropriate land. So we married the land with their legitimate owners. And legitimate owners be married to their land. And we did that. That offended those who were holding our land, the British colonial settlers in our country. That's the basis on which they imposed sanctions on us. Overnight, Mr. Shinamas will be very articulate on that subject. Overnight, the lines of credit, balance of payments were cut by over 48% overnight. Projects which were running at the time came to a standstill. We lost jobs, we lost everything. There was attack on our currency and so on. So that was one of the reasons, or the major reason why people left the country. Now, if you say, why should we invest in a country? Those who still feel that they are afraid of coming into Zimbabwe, no one will be forced to come to Zimbabwe.
Okay. So I think the viewers out there, they now know that the understanding of the objective conditions in Zimbabwe is not shared. The Vice President appears to live in another country, yes, where these facts cannot possibly have taken place. And he's actually saying Zimbabwe is a country that upholds the rule of law and is impeccable. So how do we place these facts in the public domain so that even those who are blind can
also see the light?
They can see the light. And it's only when the facts are come to the public, so to the public domain, then you can say, Vice President, what you were saying is not correct. Because the facts that I have doesn't mean this is the only case.
There are many other cases.
There are many other cases. So all you want is to prove one case. Because some of these people live in another world. They actually see no evil, hear no evil, and behave as if what they know actually is the universe of what is to be known. And refuse, like Dr. Moyo, to use eyes and ears to say, young man, I can hear what you are saying. Can I see more? By now you would have called you. To say, I didn't know, you ambushed me. You're asking me about a specific case, and actually I didn't have facts. So Tinashe, can you give me the facts so that I can be able to talk to facts? Darlington Musaruru will be the first one to say, my record of events, I've published it. If I didn't have facts, now I have facts. So we'll send this podcast to him so that tomorrow he can also come and say, okay, in his record, let him be factual. Then once it's factual, it allows all of us to live in peace, knowing that the media is a watchdog, not that the media is the dog. And who is watching? Nobody. And then we say, this is the kind of Zimbabwe that we want to see. This is 2017, not 1980. And all these things are happening
under our watch.
Yeah, and the educated people will talk about leadership in thought. But leadership that is blind to facts, leadership that is only in thought, is more dangerous than the person who actually pretends to know nothing and hear nothing, but is prepared at least to open the eyes and see, the ears so that they can hear. So this is the tragedy of Zimbabwe. that people think this is what do you call Ghana?
Yes. Folk tales.
Folk tales.
Yes.
So I think on folk tales we can end.
Well, viewers out there, thank you for tuning in the 1873 TV and making the 1873 TV your channel of choice. You can also participate in the conversation, engage us in this phenomenal conversation. It has opened my eyes as far as the aspect of legal aspects are concerned, and more importantly, just the understanding of the rule of law.
Oh, yeah, Oscar is here. You can close with a song on rights.
Yes.
Yeah, because some people they have never seen. Yeah, they've never seen the.
So we will have a closing performance by ambassadors of the 1873 network. They are known as True Verb, song on rights. Why is it rights are fundamental? This is one question that you should also ask yourself as a viewer out there, and the need for us as individuals to better.
Imagine you were to declare independence. Where would you start? Where would you start to draft that?
Yeah. And even the person who's running for president.
Yeah. Where would you start? So,
Are you
yeah. We can listen to the Declaration of Independence.
Which song are we doing?
The Declaration of Independence was Zimbabwe is independent 37 years later, and what we are talking about suggests that Zimbabwe needs independence.
Yes.
Mm. Yeah, we can.
Reminding us to put words to a declaration of. Okay. 1, 2, 3, go. 1, 2, 3, go. Imagine being asked to put words to a declaration of independence of man. Where would I start? I would not have a choice but to start with understanding the true design and operation of life. Oh, in need, I will end like Jefferson did in 1776, that the equality of man is neither a gift nor penalty. Imagine being asked to put words to a declaration of independence of man. Oh, where would I start? I would not have a choice but to start with understanding the true design and operation of life. Yes, in need, I will end like Jefferson did in 1776, that the equality of man is neither a gift nor penalty. We have power in our hands. We have power in our hands. The youth and the old, we all have a duty, one individual at a time. We have power in our hands. The youth and the old, we all have a duty, one individual at a time, to secure the order we desire. 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 To secure the order we desire.
Hey. So, yeah, tomorrow we're going to have another edition.
Yes.
So, at the end of the week, we will be judging you. I think for viewers out there, please judge. These guys start tomorrow.
Yes, start tomorrow.
Yeah. So tomorrow, if you think they're good, don't reserve your opinion, because the future of Africa depends on people who understand their rights. And the rights, what we're talking about in terms of SMM, imagine this is being done in your name. And this miscarriage of justice is being celebrated by a state newspaper, by a business editor who should be looking at business matters. But because he believes they are invincible, how do they become invincible? How does one man become senior to another, superior to another? And you want to create a world where there is black domination, not black only, but only the blacks in government who are powerful enough to write laws, to create facts that don't exist. And you are musicians, and you see that happening. How can you convert that anger into words? So that those who pretend to govern may know that actually their governance is undermining the very future that they want to secure. And that's the change of the world. I think you wanted to do change the world. And please listen and judge. And what is the number? They need to WhatsApp.
The WhatsApp number is 082-649-2451. If you're outside South Africa, remember to prefix +27.
And also on Facebook and
Facebook, the Facebook page, the 1873 TV, as well as the 1873 FM and the 1873 network. Or Twitter, the 1873 FM, the 1873 network 1. Instagram, the 1873 FM. Snapchat, the 1873 FM.
And who are you? Because they don't know you.
We are True Verb Music, ambassadors of 1873.
Are you True Verb or you are you?
Oh yeah. As a group, we're True
No,
Verb.
you are not a group. You are not born in a group.
Yeah.
One individual.
Yeah. At a time. Yes.
Okay, who is who?
My name is Desire Tafadzi wa Chimbuzi.
Okay. Chimbuzi like Chimbuzi.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I am Oscar Tendere.
I'm Simbarasha Elton Kabara.
Okay.
Yes.
So let's get there.
Yes.
see.
You gotta be the change you wanna see.
See me talking to the man in the mirror.
See me talking to the
You
man.
gotta be the change you want to see.
I gotta be the change you wanna see.
We can change the world.
We can change the
Make it a
world.
better place. We can change the world.
We can change it.
Oh, we can change the world.
We can change
Make it a better
Make it a better
place.
place.
It starts with you and me.
We can
change the world.
We can
Make it a better
change the
place.
world.
We can change the world.
Make it a better place. Yeah.
We can change the world.
We can change
Make it a better place.
Make it a better place.
It starts with you, you and me. Alright. We see people procrastinating. We see people deferring to others to be the change. Yet we all know that any motion requires causation. Yeah. Without human action, history will always be a straight line. It's you and me who writes history by bending it with action. Whoa. See me talking to the man in the mirror. Gotta be the change you want to see. You gotta be the change you want to see.
See me talking to the man in the mirror.
Alright.
Gotta be the change you want to see.
Be the change you want
We
to
can
see.
change the world.
We can change.
Make it a better place. We can change the world.
We can change the world.
We can change the
I know that it starts with you.
It starts
and me.
with you and me. We can change the
Oh,
world.
make it a
Make
better
it a better
place,
place.
yeah.
We can change the world.
We can change the world.
We can change the
I know that
Make it a better place.
it starts with you.
It starts
and me.
with you and me.
See me talking to the man in the mirror, 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 mirror.
Perfect. Thank you. So what they can judge and we see where you guys will be placed by the people who are watching. We have more than 1,000 people who have watched the show. Hopefully they will do justice. They've seen you before. So it's now 1.2, 1,200.
Wonderful.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Well, gentlemen, thank you for that great performance, and more importantly, the message that you are spreading across to the globe.
Yes.
Be the change that you want to see. Be the change. Man in the mirror. I am the man in the mirror, and I am the change that I want to see.
That's true.
I want to see a better future, a better Africa, a better world. That's it from me, Tinashe Mpasiri, the rest of the crew behind the scenes, Leroy, Freddie, who also ensure that this program goes well. Thank you so much, viewers, and join us again tomorrow between 5 p.m. and 7 p.m. Central African Time. The 1873 TV, your vision, your power.
Oh, tomorrow is Mandela Day.
Yes.